Hello everyone and welcome to another really awesome game from round 3 of this year's US Chess Championship. It is Robson versus Fabiano Caruana. Interestingly, Ray never defeated Fabi. They have been playing together since 2016 US Chess Championship and their first ever game ended in a draw, but he has never defeated him. He was able to get 8 draws against Fabi, but never a win. Fabi, on the other hand, has 6 classical wins over Ray, and last year, if you guys remember, Ray finished shared third with Semsevian and Hans Niemann, so of course he would like to do better this year. And Fabi, well, he is the defending champion. Let's see if he can defend. He does have black. Let's see what happened in this one. Ray with white opens with pawn to c4. He goes for the English opening, and Fabi counters with the Agincourt defense, pawn to e6. Knight c3, d5, we have pawn to d4, and knight to f6. Transposing into the Queen's Gambit declined. Sorry about that. And c captures on d5, just nicely capturing. We have e captures and bishop to g5, the so-called positional line. Bishop to e6, we have pawn to e3 and knight b to d7. We have bishop to d3, pawn to c6, and bishop back to f4. This is already an extremely rare move, and there is a game last year, or no, 2 years ago, it was played in the Sharjah Masters, Shan Sargsyan versus Aram Hakobian, where bishop to e7 was played, that ended in a draw. But here we have pawn to g6 by Fabi, and it is now already, as of move 8, that we have a completely new game. We have h3, now just nicely developing, stopping any pieces from going to that g4 square, and maybe, well, if it's going to be a wild game, maybe you can have some g4 action in the future. Knight to h5, also what it does is it just frees up the h2 square for the bishop, so after knight h5, Ray brings the bishop back, bishop to h2, and now Fabi develops bishop e7. We have knight to f3, castles, and knight to g7. So Fabi says, this is how I want to develop. My knight on g7 is preparing bishop to f5 to counter Ray's strong bishop on d3. We have rook to b1, bishop to f5, now offering a trade, and pawn to b4. Of course, you're not really gaining anything by trading, you're just improving the position of Fabi's knight, so pawn to b4, preparing a4 and b5, so pawn to a6, and now, while you could go pawn to a4, knight to a4, going after those dark squares that are the b6 and c5 squares. Pawn to b5, Fabi even invites the knight, knight to c5, and now knight to b6. Again, capturing, while you can do it, doesn't really do all that much. It's still white who is dominating, plus you lose very much control over the dark squares here. Raise a dark square bishop would be amazing, so not something that Fabi is looking forward to. He plays knight b6, we have knight to e5, and now queen to c8. It looks like, okay, maybe you're preparing something on the king side, but you're really not. You don't have any pieces in the game. For the moment, you're just defending that c6 pawn from the knight on e5. Pawn to e4, attacking the bishop, and now d captures on e4. This, well, yes, I know you guys are wondering about this. It has no value here whatsoever. D captures on e4. We have bishop captures on e4, bishop captures, and knight captures on e4. And now it looks like Fabi's position isn't all that impressive. He does have a weak backwards pawn on c6. Very unlikely that he will be able to push it to c5. How is he getting the pieces into the game? And Ray's bishop is amazing. The two knights are excellently placed, and, well, it seems like he's the one dictating the tone of the battle here. But Fabi plays pawn to f6, and, okay, not a move that you would consider, you know, playing in an already weird position, but it's the top move recommended by the engine, and it is very strong. So where does the knight go? The knight has to go back. You could consider a nice queen to b3 check. It does seem like an invitation, but of course king h8 will not be played. It will just get blocked with knight to e6, and then you don't really have a good follow-up. So knight back to f3, we have pawn to a5, and now pawn to a3. A captures on b4, and now knight to d5. Now this is a beautiful square for Fabi's knight. We have knight to c5, first blockading, and then preparing to, well, set up some sort of an attack against the c6 pawn, and rook to e8. Well, again, Fabi could capture the knight. It does seem like this is a very strong knight, but you're still not getting rid of the the weak c6 pawn. It's still going to be a target. The knight can come to d4, put pressure on it. You can maybe play rook to a1, get the rooks up the board. So it would be a fun game, but not very good for Fabi. So instead, he goes rook to e8. He could also prepare with rook to a3, but that is probably his next move. Queen to c2, and now rook to a3, getting the rook to the third rank. And now already you have to wonder about rook captures on f3, queen captures on h3, whether such a thing is possible. And rook f to c1. Now this is only move 26, and players are already down to half an hour on the clock. And well, Ray is basically inviting rook captures on f3. Whether it's a good move or not, it's hard to say. It is if you play it to perfection, but Fabi played an even better move. But I'm just going to show you what happens if rook captures on f3, because this is a classical game, so let's see it. Captures and captures. What is the point of this? The point is, after, let's say, rook b3, you have to add a defender here. You have this amazing bishop to d6 move. And now, after bishop captures on d6, which looks like you've just blundered a piece, you have knight to f5. And now you cannot allow knight to h4. If knight to h4 lands, there is no defending checkmate. So you cannot defend the bishop on d6. You will have to play something like, well, queen to d1 to somehow get the queen to f1 to defend against checkmate. Then Fabi would capture the bishop on d6, and okay, now black has a much better position. Probably it's winning. Whether you would win it, you have to play it, but yeah, objectively it should be winning. But Fabi played an even stronger move, and that is just queen to f5. He offers a queen trade, which looks like why would you do this if you can have the attack? But well, the engine agrees, and Fabi agrees with the engine. Queen captures on f5, knight captures on f5, and now rook to b3, getting the rook off of that active square. So rook e to a8, keeping the rook on a3, and now pawn to g4, attacking the knight. And now Fabi just shows, well, why most of the time he is referred to as the human calculator. He just calculates the win. Bishop captures on c5, and now you can't really recapture the bishop because he just eliminated the defender of the rook. Rook captures on b3 is the threat. So rook captures on a3 first, rook captures on a3, and now rook captures on c5. And now what was Fabi's plan here? Of course, first he recaptures on f3, g captures on f5, and now comes a move that, well, many moves are nice, but there is one move that just shows how superior Fabi's endgame is. Feel free to pause the video and, be a human calculator yourself if you can, while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on becoming a human calculator. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is rook to c3. Knight captures on b4 is nice, but rook to c3 is game over. And the reason being is that it doesn't matter what white plays, as it usually is. The point is, if you capture, then knight captures on c3, and you are losing one of these pawns. Okay, you could trade here. Let's say you capture once, and now bishop to d6 to try and defend both of the pawns. You cannot, because the black king is too close to the action. King g2, king to e6, king to f3, or okay, bishop is hanging, bishop to c5, king to d5, and now after, let's say, king f3, king to c4, you will simply play knight a2, knight captures on b4, win the b pawn, and then advance your past b pawn to victory. So it is that simple. So that's why f captures on g6 was played, h captures on g6, and now the immediate bishop to d6. But of course, Fabi was never considering rook captures on c5. Fabi's idea the whole time was rook to c4. He says, all right, now I'm going to start capturing unless you capture on c4. But it is not over. Ray finds a very interesting idea, and he plays king to g2. Point being that if you capture on c4 now and then b captures on c4, the c pawn is winning, or if you try to defend it, okay, you can get your king inside the square of the pawn, but it's still not enough. For example, king to f7, king to e2, king to e6, bishop to c5, and now knight to f4 check, for example, just wins the h3 pawn. Then you're again up a pawn and again winning. So king to g2 instead, this is a trick. Because, well, if you play rook rook captures on b4, then rook captures on d5. That's a problem. Now your rook is hanging, and if you play rook captures on e4 on d4, then rook captures on c6. So you can't start capturing just yet. The key is to get the king over here to defend the knight, and then you will not have any worries with rook captures on d5. So king to f7, we have king to f3, king to e6, and now bishop to f8. We have king to d7, king to e4, and now king to e4, not the greatest of moves, but Ray is already down below 1 minute, as now rook captures on b4 becomes an option. Because look at this, if you play rook captures on d5 check, to grab the rook on b4, you are countered with a counter check, so a counter check, if you will. Now it's check, and then you move the rook, and then you're just off the exchange and completely winning. So after rook captures on b4, rook to c1, and now just rook to b3, and this is now, okay, completely winning. Rook to g1 attacks the pawn, and now just king to e6. Defending via tactic, but Ray is already very low on time, and he's very, very close to just losing the game, because if he plays a weird move, let's say if he plays like pawn to f3, then f5 is checkmate. Also, rook to e3 is checkmate, so you can't really get out of checkmate. And if you go for something like rook captures on g6 to eliminate the pawn, then just king f7, and the rook and the bishop are attacked. You will lose one of them, and of course the game with that, something like captures, and okay, now we're just up a piece and completely winning. So yeah, I mean, you will lose something. There's this was played. It was in this position on move 41 that Ray Robson resigned the game. There is nothing more to be done here. But yeah, you're either getting checkmated, so you know there was no way of playing this. So yeah, beautifully done by Fabi. A masterclass with the black pieces winning like this. Absolutely amazing. And I know you guys, you like it when I also show the standings after a game has been played, but I'm also going to cover some other games from this round, and then we are going to discuss the standings. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. As usual, we expect brilliancy from Fabi, and brilliancy Fabi has delivered. I would like to thank Welcome, Atlas Wilton, Jack Ingram, Ranko Djugashevich, Ivan Sterling, Yus van Verd, and Gianpaolo Londono for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.